Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am wearing the same thing that I wore in my last video because it is the same day, and as a new mom, you ain't got time to change your outfit. You ain't got time to film on multiple days. Luca is taking a nap right now, so I am taking advantage of this time and I'm gonna film my birth story. So I'm here to talk about my birth story and get into all the details about that, so stick around. So if you saw in my last vlog, not my last video, but my, I guess it was Luca's birth video, birth vlog, we had to have an emergency C-section. You would have seen in that video. I'm going to talk a little bit about some more of the details of that and the hospital experience and afterwards and coming home with Luca. So yes, on Thursday I went to my doctor, and she basically told me he's not in great position, like his head is down but it's like at an angle, and we really need to get him, engaged and in place. And a reason why I had to go home and do a bunch of exercises to get him in place was because my amniotic fluid was running low, and she could see that my placenta was starting to get worn out. So on Thursday, she sent me home to go do yoga ball exercises, curb walking, everything to get this baby into place. And I went back to see her on Saturday, and when she did the ultrasound, Luca's hands were above his head, and so she was like, he's in worse position because it's going to be hard for him to put his arms down. And then she said that my placenta got old really quickly, and when I asked her what causes that, she was like, you must have she said that stress causes that, but she was like, you're not a very stressed out person, so I don't see that happening with you. But she was like, you must have an autoimmune disease in your family. And I know that I told her this in one of our first appointments, but I told her again at this appointment, I have an autoimmune disease, I have celiac disease. And she was like, oh, okay, well that's why. So that was one frustrating thing, because I feel like we could have avoided that if she had known or remembered that I had an autoimmune disease. So I get dressed and we sit down at her desk, and she was like, so I think Luca's gonna be born tonight. And David and I laugh, and she was like, no, I'm serious, we need to have a C-section tonight. And I just got into go mode, and I was in shock. And she was like, your placenta is getting very old very quickly, and I don't think that he can last another day in there. So I was like, okay. So she sent us home, and we had to be back at the hospital later that night. I came home, I cleaned the house, I changed our bed sheets, I had chicken in the fridge, so I cooked the chicken, and I just was trying to get things ready. I finished packing our hospital bags and just got everything ready, and we went back to the hospital, I think around 7 o'clock. I had called my mom. She was changing her flights and getting on a flight for the next morning. And so once we got to the hospital, I went to the back, prep room, and I got into my little hospital gown, and my doctor came and she said, okay, so my anesthesiologist and my assistant nurse, I think, they had to attend to an emergency, and this night I remember it was raining in the city, and when it rains in the city, there is a bunch of traffic because just the city goes crazy when it rains. So she was like, we have to wait for them to get here, but they should be on their way soon. So I ended up having to wait in the prep room for 2.5 hours, just sitting there waiting for the anesthesiologist and the assistant nurse. So you can imagine, as I was sitting there, I just was getting more nervous and more nervous to have this operation, and but also very excited to meet Luca in a few hours. So then around, I think it was like 10:30, the anesthesiologist and the assistant nurse got there, and I started to get prepped to go in. It was like really crazy. I don't think I've ever been in an operating room like that, conscious. And so it really felt like a Grey's Anatomy episode or something. So I get wheeled back. David gets dressed into his operation, what is it called? The gloves and what, I can't think of what that's called. This is mom brain. So he gets ready, and we actually we didn't even ask. One of the nurses offered to videotape Luca's birth for us, which was really, really sweet. So they had given me oxygen, I remember, and then the anesthesiologist was getting me ready for the shot in the back, and I was asking her, like, is this gonna hurt? And she was like, no, it won't hurt. Like, you probably won't even feel it, which is true. I didn't feel it, and I don't remember it at all. And then once the anesthesia started to work, I just felt so itchy. I remember feeling very, very itchy, and I remember feeling like very loopy, and I was talking very slowly, and I felt calm, which was good. And the operation happened so quickly. I was scared that the anesthesia wouldn't kick in quick enough for them to start operating. And before I knew it, they were like, okay, he's coming. And I didn't even realize that they had begun operating on me. And it happened very, very quickly. Like, once I got the anesthesia, I think within a matter of 3 minutes, I had Luca in my arms. And you guys can see that footage in his birth vlog a couple videos back. But once I heard his little cry, I just started crying, and as soon as I saw him, I thought, oh my gosh, he looks just like me as a newborn. And then I thought, oh my gosh, he looks just like my father. So he has my genes for sure. But yeah, right when I saw him, I just was amazed at like how much we looked alike. And it's hard, even when you have your 3D ultrasound, it's hard to like imagine what he looks like. And then when you see your baby, it's just like crazy. And I just was so happy and emotional and sad and happy, and I was all of the emotions. It just was so surreal to have my baby on my chest. And I just remember thinking like, okay, like it's go time. Like, this is my child. Like, he is actually here. He's real. Oh my goodness, you know? And then David and Luca's doctor had to leave, and then they just kind of got me finished up. And then I had to wait in another room for an hour. I don't know why, but I had to wait in a separate room after the operation for an hour. And yes, I was so itchy. I did not know that anesthesia made you itch that way, but I could not stop itching my skin, and I was just really uncomfortable and really tired. But I also was like, why am I here? Why can't I go see my baby? And because we had a C-section, we opted to have Luca stay overnight in the NICU for the both nights that we were there, and they brought him to us during the day. Because I knew with having a C-section, there was going to be a huge healing process that came with that. And so I had him stay in the NICU overnights. And but when I got back to my hospital room, it was really late because he was born at like 11:24 or something. I can't remember, which is really bad of me. But 11:30 basically at night. So I got back to my room around 12:30, and David was there. He was watching The Office, and that night, I just remember I was thinking that I was so thankful to have that night of sleep, and I could just like sleep before getting ready for Luca. But I also wanted him there so badly, and I couldn't wait until the morning to have him. Sleeping was very hard being stitched up. It was a sleepless night. I was very exhausted, and there was a lot of like tossing and turning, trying to get comfortable. Towards the morning, they were a little late on giving me my pain meds. I still was hooked up to the IV, and they had to come and like give the medicine through the IV. And I started to like feel some pain in my abdomen, and I looked at my medicine, and it was out. And then the pain very fastly got very bad. It increased, and I pressed my little nurse button, and I told them I need pain meds, and it took them like 15 minutes to come, and that was the most excruciating pain I have ever felt in my life. And I was just trying to breathe through the pain, and I was moaning, and I was squeezing David's hand, and oh my gosh, that was the worst pain I have ever felt. And when they finally came and gave me the medicine, it was just like, oh my gosh, the best thing ever. And then that day they came to get me for a shower, and I mean, after just having a huge operation like that, I couldn't imagine that they expected me to stand so quickly. And so it was very hard to stand and to walk. I felt like an old woman walking, and the shower was very difficult. I just felt like I'm gonna pop something. Like it felt as I stood that everything was just gonna come falling out of my incision. And I tried to go to the bathroom, and I had to pee. Sorry if this is too much information. I had to pee. Mentally, I could not go to the bathroom. I just felt if I pee, everything is gonna fall out of me. And so I couldn't. So I think I didn't pee until the next day. Yeah, that day they brought Luca to us. I tried to nurse him, and I had no clue what I was doing. And that was one frustrating thing about giving birth here in Mexico. I don't know if the nurses assumed that I knew what I was doing or what, but no one helped me breastfeed him. They just brought him in and dropped him off and left. And I felt very like, one, I was out of it because I was on pain meds, but two, I was trying to figure out, is he eating? Am I doing this right? And I was texting my lactation consultant, and I had ended up texting his doctor and saying, can you ask the nurses to like come help me nurse him, because I don't know what I'm doing. And she did tell them, but they didn't really help much at all. And thankfully I got him to nurse, I got him to latch by the grace of God. And we have a great nursing relationship now. He's exclusively nursed. But yeah, I wish that I would have gotten help in the hospital room with nursing him. And they brought him to us for like a few hours at a time. And when they took him away, I just was so sad, but also kind of thankful that I could sleep because I was so exhausted. And I hope that that doesn't sound bad, but I mean, that's what worked for us, was having the nurses take him. And that next night, the second night in the hospital, I think it was an even worse night of sleep, and I just couldn't wait for them to bring Luca to me in the morning. But we were leaving that day, and they asked me, how much have you gotten up to walk? And I said, nothing, for my shower, and that was it. And they were like, oh my gosh, you need to walk. And that was another thing that I was like, well, you guys are the nurses, you need to come in and help me walk. You need to tell me what to do, you know? I'm not gonna know what to do. This is my first baby, this is my first C-section. So that was really frustrating. So they said, before you leave, like, you need to walk around a little bit. So David helped me walk around our room. We walked around the hospital hallways, and that was horrible. It hurt, and by that time I wasn't on the IV anymore. I just had pain pills, and yeah, that just was not fun. But I was looking forward to going home that day, that afternoon, and to bring my baby home, but was also very nervous, thinking, how am I going to do this at home 24/7? Like, he went to the NICU at night, and like, I was able to sleep. Like, what am I gonna do tonight when I go home? Thankfully, my mom was here, and we got home with Luca, and I think we immediately went to sleep, and Luca slept next to me in his bassinet, and I just kept trying to sleep and trying to nurse him, not knowing if I was doing it right because no one helped me. But he was maintaining his enough wet diapers, so I knew that he must be getting what he needs from me. But yeah, those first couple days, first month, you just really don't know what you're doing, and you're just hoping that you're doing the right thing and he's gonna be kept alive. I remember freaking out about his poop, and is this normal, and is he eating enough? I got off of my pain meds within, I think, 2 or 3 days from being home, because those first couple of days being home, I was not myself. I've never been on pain meds before. I don't even really take like Tylenol when I have a headache or anything. So being on medication like that really messed me up. My mom thought that I had postpartum depression, and I just was a zombie. Like, I was walking around like a zombie. I was hunched over. I wasn't feeling good. I was in pain. I was starting to get migraines from the pain medication, and I just needed to get off of the pain meds. And I remember telling my mom that, like, I think my body is not handling this medicine well. And I had such bad migraines, and it was getting worse the longer I was on the pain medication. So I started to wean myself off and just deal with the pain that I had, and I think that was the best decision I made, because once I started to wean off the pain meds, I felt myself. I was happy and excited to see Luca. I wasn't obsessing over every little detail of his poop and whatever. So getting off the pain meds was exactly what I needed. And yeah, I'm thankful that I had my mom here that first month to help us. And now Luca is almost 4 months old, and he's the best boy ever, and he's so happy and smiley like all the time, and he's just the best. So life is amazing with him, and I need to film more like home videos just for him to have. So I do want to post them, but mostly I just want to take videos. I grew up with home videos, and so I want him to grow up being able to watch his childhood. So but that was my birth story, and thank you guys so much for watching. Luca is awake now, so I have to go, but I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!